The name of this show is Living Wisdom, and I'm Patty Paul. Today I'm very happy to have my friend Tom Stamatelos as a guest. Among the many wonderful things that Tom does is he's a very experienced channel. Today he'll be channeling an unconditionally loving friend by the name of Rowazas. So welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you, Patty. It's nice
You
to be
and
here.
I, over the years, were in several of Sean Randall's channeling classes together.
Yep.
And I know that you've gone on to give private consultations and workshops, you and Rowazis.
Right.
So this is really a delight. So I'm going to go ahead and invite you to begin your channeling process. And while you're doing that, the credits will roll. If Rowazis isn't quite with us when the credits are finished, why we'll wait a few moments and then get started with Rowazis.
Great.
So. We're waiting for Rowazis to join us.
Yes. Hello.
Welcome to the show, Rowazis.
Thank you for inviting us, for being with us again this day.
Yes, it's a pleasure having you here. You and I have not had this kind of interaction, this kind of conversation before, and so I've really been looking forward to it.
Yes.
I'd like to get to know you better, and I'm sure the audience would like to know something about you. So let's start off, please, by you telling us who you are, where you come from, so to speak, what you're doing here.
We would consider a more what we are rather than who does imply a personhood. We are an energy essence, which is self-aware. We have not had physical lives. We recognize ourselves in numerous dimensions simultaneously, and refer not in a we, which would imply an editorial we, but a we due to the consideration that we hold infinite viewpoints simultaneously. There is not a where which is applicable to our dimensions of play, and that would lead us to say there is not a place that you would describe us as being from.
Language can be so limiting, can it not?
In many cases, a sense of feeling is actually more applicable than any language which you presently use in your society or in any of the societies now present on your planet. The feeling coming through the self, from the whole self, can often lead to a greater knowing than can the language which then attempts to interpret and describe that knowing. We would agree.
Yes. And as I mentioned to Tom at the beginning, Tom and I had been in various channeling classes, Sean Randall
Yes.
and Torres channeling classes, and I know that he began channeling you some years ago. And would you like to perhaps tell us how that connection with you came about?
We have worked with Theros, as we refer to him. This allows him a greater comfort than were we to refer to him by his given name here, and his comfort is a consideration which we closely monitor. Since he was a very small child, he is given to taking classes, courses, and the matter of education within your world of apparencies, and that afforded him the opportunity to then allow our energies to be broadcast through his physical structure. This is something we work with in this life, which you know, in numerous parallel systems, and is an agreement which in your terms he has lived with and worked with since before the onset of this particular lifetime.
That's interesting.
Yes.
And helpful to know. When I spoke to Tom before, he mentioned that one of the areas that you speak about is the area of how human beings are reality creators.
Yes.
And maybe that's something that you could talk about at this time.
We work with the human focus as it pinpoints into the perception of identity and personality in order to work to create more enjoyable being, and as well to lead you back to what you truly are. Again, we would say what and not who, for truly you are a great deal more than the personhood which you typically recognize throughout your waking conscious efforts in this world of apparencies. In that, from our vantage point outside of your system, we see that you form your reality in a cooperation of 7 basic inputs. First, in your belief. The precepts you hold act as laws. These are opinions which are held with strong conviction, and regarding the reality which they allow, the reality which you are able at any moment point to create, allow thought and feeling, which we refer to as a thought feeling group. From that as well springs mental image. The thought feeling group, the mental image, then become idea. Beyond that, attitude is allowed, which is replete with your own physical body postures. The belief, which acts as an umbrella, filtering and allowing specific thought feeling groups, specific idea, and the complex of the thought feeling group. The feeling outside is the emotion which you send into from within your own physical structure. The attitude and the mental image form a complex. From that complex, you make choices. Now, a choice which is automatic does not afford you the true responsibility, breaking that word into two portions, to respond as you may choose. You also then make decisions. The decisions then become a precept acting as that belief. And we would encourage each to consider what decisions they make from any object, event, person, or a place. Those decisions can become somewhat invisible, and you accept them as facts of life rather than beliefs about life. As they become invisible, it can be less conscious in your ability to create rather than to simply allow those objects, those events within this lifetime. Has this been clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I like that explanation because it does clarify it for me. One of the things that Tom and I spoke about earlier was this chauvinist paradigm that he and I are quite aware of, and we each have a common interest in stepping beyond, so to speak. So that, because the chauvinist paradigm is such an important issue for humanity and human beings, I invite you to share your insights and wisdom on that.
Now, isn't it coincidental that each of you had the same issue, the same thoughts?
Absolutely.
And have taken much similar direction
Yes.
in order to become response-able
Yes. That worked out very well.
in this area. The ideas of subject and object have long stood within your system, in your terms. Now you are becoming more response-able in your ability to choose your reaction to and your action to these issues, holding now the respect for self, the respect for self as reflected by another. In that idea of growing respect, a portion of love, the attitudes of chauvinism, both from male and female, are now breaking away in greater portions. And for you too to have worked through this shows that there is certainly hope for each and all of the reflections of self contained within your world, that world of apparencies.
Yes. speaking for myself personally, it was very nice, very actually a blessing for me to be able to communicate so easily with Tom.
Yes.
A while ago, and talk about this. We understood each other, and it was a shift in energy for me, I felt.
That shift begins with your conscious intent. The conscious intent to alter the relationship while considered previously as the way it was.
Yes. With those knee-jerk responses.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The non-ability to respond in a way you came to distinguish as a respect. Within the dream state, now we speak of the night dream state, each of you worked on that particular area of your own personhood to alter the personality in its numerous identities and to slowly, in a more gradient process, shift that identity of a personality to one which now fits with your ideas of respect of self, with respect of others as reflection of self.
Mm-hmm.
From there, a deep within the whole self, the dreams come to alter. They are interpretation of the energies which now you draw and allow, and beyond that, consciously create with into your physical reality. As those energies fit with your thought, feeling groups, allow the idea to be combined with the mental image, you then assume different attitude.
Yes.
From that, you now have a choice, and you will make decisions. Again, we do urge you to encourage you, each and all, to pay conscious attention to those decisions, for the decisions then become the new precept, acting as a belief, that umbrella which then allows certain thought feeling pattern, the formation of idea, and the complex replete with attitude.
Yes. I think I do understand that. And it's like perhaps shifting a piece here, a new decision, a new perception of myself and the other person, and that kind of shifts as how to say impact on the other parts of reality creation. Am I saying that at all?
You are saying that very well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the responsibility allows you then to, without a great deal of undercover work, with no particular hours of a therapy, to replace that belief in order to then alter the personality with its identity when working with another. In some instances, depending certainly upon your system of belief and upon the mass beliefs, that idea of therapy, that idea of discovery is then needed and quite valuable. You have long been schooled that as the twig is bent, so grows the tree. In greater terms, in much deeper terms within the self, this simply is not so. But due to the system of belief in which you live, those beliefs then become your fact, which allows a certain thought-feeling pattern. As you progress in your knowing of the creation of your system, this can alter. Each moment point, each pinnacle serves as your area of ability to work within the system, which is then your physical reality. And from each of these pinnacles, the now moment, you create not only the future, but the past. It is quite typical within your society to say you can't do anything about the past. You can't change the past. Well, we would say that not only can you, you do it all the time. As your ideas of a trauma become more entrenched, as you acquiesce to that, then trauma needs to be lifted for a moment point to become unrecognized, for you to no longer feed it the energy to keep it alive and within the system of scenery, which you refer to as memory. The future acts as an exploration as you send out to moment points ideas, again the idea group, of what you want. They are explored within what you refer to as the dream state, and according to your thought feeling groups, the idea which incorporates your mental images and your intent, such futures are either realized within the now moment or go unrecognized. The moment unrecognized is quite as real as the one which you recognize within the now moment. Now is your only moment. The concept of now is much more a concept of space than it is of time. There is only now. As that now moment coincides with the field of all possibility, it creates what you consider to be the physical objective reality. And from that, the life seems to be quite continuous, having beginnings and ends upon events, having beginnings and ends of objects, having beginnings and ends of persons. And it forms a continuity which then elicits a predictability regarding the life. Has this been clear?
Yes, fairly clear to me. When you say predictability, are you talking about the probability of what will happen?
Yes. Now, as you turn in a now moment your automobile, you predict the outcome of that turn. Were this not the case, the confusion would not allow that continuity of life, which is important within your system.
Yes. But we can always make another turn a different way.
At each moment, all things are possible. At each moment, the life can be altered. In our example of the automobile, you may create a situation in which that turn is interrupted or not completed.
Yes. Yes.
A simple situation, but as well, more complex situations are alterable. There are events which seem to be devastating, in which the outcome can be less than enjoyable, which can be altered.
Yes. At this point, I just got a signal that we have about a minute left.
Yes.
And so I don't want to cut you off any more mid-thought than I just have. The good news is we'll be taping another half-an-hour show. So I look forward to that. And I want to thank you once again, Rowazas, for being present with us and for giving such great insights and wisdom. I also want to thank the audience for their attention. Once again, the name of this show is Living Wisdom, and I'm Patty Paul saying goodbye until the next time.